Hey, marvelous Monday to you, Instagram. It is time for Mind Shift Mondays, where we come into this space, this digital space, to shift our mind and every aspect of our lives. Today, we are continuing in a very needed theme nowadays. I'm going to invite our in to join us. Hello, hello, everyone. As we are getting, there we go. Let's go ahead and jump
Ah,
here.
no, I'm too high. I'm too high. Hold on. Hey, 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 hey.
There we go. Let's make that adjustment there.
Yes, I am making an adjustment myself. Peace and blessings, China girl.
Yes. All right. So we going there today, Celeste. We going there like we always do.
We are really going there today.
Mm-hmm. And I think that some of the people out here in Instagram land have at least heard of or experienced themselves this phenomenon of a
Mm,
person who verbalized wanting to be in a committed romantic relationship,
yes.
choosing to step outside of that relationship to get their needs, get some key needs met. So I want to open up by asking you what your personal definition of cheating is.
Cheating, infidelity, betrayal, trauma. It is definitely when you are in a committed relationship, married or not married, you've made a commitment and you step outside of that relationship to gain um, very close, intimate reach with someone else. Sometimes that is emotional, sometimes that is physical, which means it's sexual. Some people say, "Oh, you didn't cheat if it." I apologize. Some people say you didn't cheat if it wasn't physical. While some will disagree with that, I think for today's live, the purpose of today's live, cheating is having physical, sexual contact with someone outside of the relationship that you're in. Is that correct? Is that what we're dealing with? But broadly, we're talking about there is emotional cheating and there's physical cheating, both. And oftentimes, I know we're going to get into this for the woman, that emotional leads to the physical when you open yourself up, because oftentimes women don't open up their legs first. I mean, let's just be, we're grown here. So women don't open up legs first. Oh, women open up their hearts first, and then the legs sometimes follow.
Mm.
So, but yeah, so that's my definition of cheating. If you'd like to add to that, please do.
Yeah. What is your definition? Put in the comments below. I'm really curious what different people have to say about their definition of cheating. So if you're watching this, whether it's live or the replay, put your definition of cheating
Yeah,
into the chat. And
we want to know.
yeah, I'm curious what you guys have to say regarding that. Your definition of cheating. What is cheating? And
Yeah.
um, so I'll go and answer mine. My definition of cheating is intimate relationship needs met outside of an exclusive romantic relationship.
I would agree. I agree.
And so
I,
I think that it can transcend the physical. And
yeah.
I know of many guys who actually have more problem when it's emotional than when it is physical. Um,
That's interesting.
yeah, it is not all, because certain guys, they're definitely more preoccupied with, I can't believe that you stepped outside, but it's knowing that females, when they cheat, knowing that it's more emotional, that that it's kind of sticky, it's kind of icky, it's you.
The attachment is deep. The attachment is deep when it's emotional. I personally, it would be easier to, not that I would want any of it, but I would personally think that it would be easier to forgive someone where it was emotional and not physical. Now, I do realize that emotional will lead to the physical oftentimes. At the same time, though, I think that when it crosses over into physical, there's so many physiological and biological juices, if you will. I know we're this is a grown conversation,
Mhm.
people here, but I'm saying, so I think when you go there, I think before you cheat, there are a lot of questions that you have to answer. And I've heard people say, I don't know what happened. It just happened. I personally, now I haven't been around the way. I will say that. So I don't know. Maybe I had a different relationship in my mind, even as a child. I had a different relationship with the idea of emotional and physical intimacy. So it was very hard to be able to cross those lines. So for me, being a thinker like that, it was, I've never found myself just kind of like, oh, it just happened. But I do know people where that was the case.
Mhm.
So I think that the relationship that we have before we're ever intimate plays into this a lot. Um, can I say though that my heart goes out to everyone on here that has experienced cheating or will ever experience cheating, because it is the ultimate form of betrayal. It is, because you can't do it without lies and deception. Oftentimes gaslighting goes along with it. And so we talk a lot about how everything affects the heart, you know. And that's why, and know that every time you come to our Mind Shift Mondays, we're never doing messy. This is never going to be Jerry Springer. So if our question today is why do people cheat, you better believe that we're getting into the deeper reasons so that we can help prevent and help people heal.
That's
So
the point. That's the whole point. Mind Shift Monday, baby. And
yeah.
so going off the heels of what you just shared, and recognizing that it's really a heart issue.
Yeah,
Root
it
the
is.
core. It's not just about, okay, whether or not you physically did with some. There's something that's going on in the heart, and what one of the things
Yeah.
I'm going to lead with and get your professional feedback on is that, because many people struggle with this, is that when they're in a relationship with someone who steps outside and decides to cheat, they don't realize that the cheating oftentimes has a lot more to do with the person who made the choice to step out than the person who's being betrayed. But
I'm so glad that you said that.
talk to us about that one.
So it's really, really deep, because I remember I was doing a workshop many years ago, and Dr. Ashford was doing, well, what we did, we had everyone together, all the couples, and then we separated the couples. I was with the women, and he was with the men. And I heard this outburst. The men were cracking up laughing. And I was like, what is going on over there? So later I learned what happened that caused that big outburst. And if there was a man in the room, and he said that he was very frustrated because his wife was withholding sex.
Mm.
And he said, an old girl around the corner ready to give it to me. Right. And so Dr. Ashford said, I got a poem for you. You ready for it? So all the guys are like, ooh, this poem must be deep. He said, grow up, 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 grow up. The entire poem was grow up. So after about 30 seconds of grow up, they all start falling out laughing because they realize there are no other words but two words: grow up. Somebody put it in the chat: grow up.
Wow.
You know. And but the point to it was that your decision to cheat is really a very personal decision. You can say it's because your wife is holding out. You can say that it's because your husband is not showing up for you. At the end of the day, it is a decision to either go on the road of recovery in the relationship to fix the issues, or go on the road of, where you're going downhill until to the point where you're in full-blown betrayal trauma. So it is definitely an individual thing. You can't ever blame someone. Just like I love, Jeremy Anderson, when Tracy, his wife, was having some issues, they didn't have sex for almost a year, 9 months. He did it without masturbation. He did it without porn. He did. Now, was it, ooh, not very easy at times? Yeah, but when he talked about that thing and talked about, You have to choose your mate daily, sometimes minute by minute.
Mm-hmm.
And remember who they are, what they have been to you, the reasons why you made a commitment in the first place. So that's for me. Like, what are your thoughts? So I think, and I just want to just say this, that I want everybody to know, whether you cheated or you've been cheated on or whatever, relationships can be healed from it. But we'll talk about that in a minute. They can be healed from it, but it takes work and it takes transparency. But go ahead.
So I was going to jump in on something that you're pointing out about this aspect of choice. Some people feel like cheating is a mistake that just happened. Like you said, you got to choose your partner, choose your mate, choose your spouse, choose them. That it is a decision. There is no such thing as I just fell into this person's body, and they know that there were choices that were made along the way. And so to come back to this idea that that cheating can just happen, that there's always a path. There's that wrong decision that leads to the next wrong decision, and then you're in a compromise situation. You're having a conversation that really is inappropriate to have with somebody who's not your partner, and you're walking this path and you're making these little decisions that are taking you down to this big giant, to this big decision that's going to have huge implications whether you get caught. A lot of people get eaten up by the guilt. They are
some people, right?
Some people.
A lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
But some people, that's another thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I just wanted to point out that it's not a mistake.
It's not a mistake.
Choice.
It's not you can't take full responsibility for a mistake.
Come on, that's what I'm talking about. It's not a mistake. It's
not
just like when Eve ate the fruit, she made a choice. When Adam took it from Eve, it wasn't, oh man, I made a mistake. No, you knew what you was doing. Like, clothes don't come off by themselves. You made a choice. You don't end up wrong with
that's a whole lot
you make a choice. Yeah. And so in order to prevent, I know we're kind of getting the cart before the horse. In order to prevent these situations, you have to avoid them. You can't play with. If you play with fire, you're going to get burned. Like, what you expect to happen? And so, I don't know. But coming back to the reason why? The condition of the heart for someone who commits to be in an exclusive romantic relationship but decides to step out. Would you say that is one of wholeness or one of brokenness?
The heart is, the person, as you and I said a few weeks ago, the person doesn't have full use of their heart when they even make the decision. Like, let's not minimize it. I know some people on here like, yeah, but my girlfriend, my wife, my husband, never minimize it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so the decision, there's a setup for the decision, Danny. There really is. I remember this guy getting married. He had been cheating before marriage. And I remember him getting married, and I remember him saying, he stood up, he said, I'm going to be true blue. Right? And I knew his history. His wife didn't know, but I knew his history. Mm-hmm. And he was like, I'm going to be true blue. And he really tried to be true blue. But and he will tell you to this day that he had like the most perfect wife. She served him like the king of the castle. She didn't withhold sex. She was a great cook. She was beautiful. She had a banging body. Like all the stuff that men say, they were so compatible in the things that they liked, the games that they played. Like you couldn't get, as they say, you couldn't get no better than this. And when he talked about the reasons why he cheated, he had created a story that there was a deficit. He had created a story out of brokenness, out of his own brokenness, that something needed to be fixed. And you think that it's in the relationship. So you go out to search for it to bring about wholeness as an individual. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't work. And look, even as a therapist, I've seen men and women do it. I've seen women cheat because they get married thinking like Jerry Maguire, y'all, please, that part of the movie, I loved it too. I might watch it sometime soon. And she says, or he says, you complete me, right? And it's like, and we all were like this in the theater. Oh, I want somebody to say that to me. Okay, so what does it mean? I'm broken and you complete me. First of all, it's impossible for anybody to complete you, but we do. We get into these relationships with the idea that this person has something that's so valuable to me that it's going to complete me. And when we find out that that person doesn't have that thing because it's impossible for it to, something outside of you to complete you,
Yep.
you go elsewhere. You go elsewhere thinking, he got it.
Mm-hmm.
And like the Bible says, stolen water is sweet. So now you're with somebody else and that thing seems to be exciting
Mm-hmm.
because you're sneaking. But we won't go into all of that. Why do people cheat? It is definitely out of brokenness. And if you can accept that today, you can get on the road to recovery where you won't be that person anymore, because you'll be complete and you won't be thirsty. Don't walk around thirsty. Don't walk around thirsty.
That's good. That's really good. And I just want to make sure that like the people who are watching know that this isn't to demonize people who have stepped out. We're here to talk about like the issue because it happens. It's actually very common. And so
Yeah.
you're the person who has stepped out or the person who's been cheated on. We're here to give you hope. We're here to give you resources in order to guide you into an experience where you're experiencing healing and wholeness,
Mm-hmm.
so that you can make better decisions with what you have moving forward. And I want to now make a distinction between the gender issues, the gender differences between men and women. Some of the more stereotypical reasons that men say that they cheat versus women say that they cheat. So
Tell me about that, please. I hate to interrupt you, but please tell me the reasons why men have told you. I'll tell you what they've told me, but
so
I want to know from a man's standpoint, why are the men saying
one common thing that we hear from men is when their partner has been holding out.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have the desire for sex, for physical intimacy. And for whatever reason, which here's where it can get deep, because there's always reasons and layers and layers and layers and layers and layers.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, their partner is not willing to have intercourse with them. And so to have the need,
or not as often as they want,
possibly as well. And so they make the decision, not the mistake, they make the choice that I've got to go and get this need met over here because I can't get it here. McDonald's is out of hamburgers. I got to go over here to Burger King because I can't starve. And so this is one of the common reasons that men feel justified in making the decision to step outside their exclusive romantic relationship. What would you have?
Wow. So the number one reason that you want me to speak to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is that okay? So first of all, I think that there's a lack of emotional maturity there. When that's the case, there's a lack of true connection with oneself. And because first of all, like when the woman is saying that she is holding out, there's so many reasons, none of them justified. I don't believe in it, especially if you're married. If you're married, why say no? So let me tell you this, somewhat of a side note, but I just remember going to someone many years ago and I said, how do you do it when you don't feel like it? How do you do it when you don't want to? So I think education is a big piece. I was educated very well so that I would be prepared to not use the word no. Mm-hmm. So, and she said something that I always remembered. She said, women go into relationships, into marriage, looking at it like sex is something that they give to a man. I gave him some.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He already had
Let me get some. Let me get some.
Let me get.
That's what the
right. And the men do that in the street. Mm-hmm. But what she said to me, she said, if you look at it like it's really something that God gives, there was a design for it. She said, and if you look at it like it's this is something that we come to do together to complete. It's definitely physical intimacy. There are emotional parts, there are spiritual parts, there, like all of that. So then I didn't look at it like I'm giving them some, right? It was like, no, this is an exchange. This is something that we do together. And then I was good. Uh-oh, something happened to the video. Okay, we're back. I don't know what happened. But all of that to say that my education on it helped me to not do that thing right there that you're talking about.
So are you suggesting that there's no good reason for a woman to withhold sex from the partner that she's committed to?
I'm going to say in marriage.
Okay, all right.
I'm going to say in marriage.
Okay. So,
because when you're not married, if you decide I ain't, this is all still mine.
okay, all right. Important distinction. And so,
important distinction in marriage, it's like, let me tell you what my old pastor said. Mm-hmm. I know we all TMI up in here today. My old pastor, because people were trying to say, oh, can you have sex on certain days? And he said, the Sabbath is holy. The marriage bed is holy. So turn over and give it up. But that was just deep to me. I was like, ooh, whoa, hold up. I wasn't ready. Because to know him is like, he's older too. It's just like, whoa, hold up. So, but what he was saying is that in the context of marriage, there's no, it's mine, it's yours.
Yeah.
It's like every time you can come together to create that level of intimacy is such a blessing. So I think that just like money, if you look at money like it's the root of all evil, then you're not going to have it and you're going to avoid it at all costs subconsciously. So you won't get it. It's the same thing here. If I look at it like there's nothing in it for me, that it's for him, then I can shut this and this. It'll all be shut off. So I think women, just hear me loud and clear. There's a different education that we haven't been given growing up that I had to re-educate myself all over again so that, so that the relationship from my standpoint could be fruitful. And that would never be the reason for infidelity. So I hope I answered that.
You did. I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about the reasons that you experience women justifying their actions.
So women just women justify.
Okay. Can we hear you? I can't.
Yeah, I apologize. Don't know much about my phone. I don't know much about my phone, so I had to make sure I was on Do Not Disturb. I apologize. So the number one reason that women step outside of their relationships is due to emotional deficiency, if I will, in the relationship. Like and I've heard so many women go and say, I'm emotionally starving, literally. Mm-hmm. And I remember Steve Harvey saying that when a woman cheats, it's a good woman. Now, I know as a therapist, I've had some women that cheat, and I hate to use the word good, but I've had women that cheated and they had a very broken past, sometimes with molestation, sometimes their education on sex was completely misconstrued just by what happened to them. So I get that. But women, just regular, you in a relationship or they've healed from it. Generally, it's emotional starvation that leads them out there because we are emotional beings. We do like to be uplifted and connect. We like that connection. Like, babe, come on, let's talk. I used to always say, and I even tell my children, writing me a paragraph is probably one of the best gifts. That connection with me where you can share with me, open up. I've always been someone that loves for people to trust me. That's how I got to be a therapist, I guess, right? And that means a lot. But when you don't get that, somebody else walks up at work at the coffee machine and he says, how's your day going? That's such a simple question. But when it's not asked, because I remember I was with somebody that they would I decided just to test it one day years ago. They said, because I'm all, hey, I'm bubbly and I'm genuinely interested in your heart. But I realized he couldn't be. It or wasn't, not couldn't be. You can't. And I remember him responding, I'm good, how are you? But he kept walking. And I decided this time just to see if he would turn back around to see that I didn't respond. There was no emotional connection on his part. He didn't even realize that I never responded.
Mm.
And I said, literally. So that oftentimes, so I need every man on here to hear me. Always do what I call ask the next question to your woman.
Come on, what's that? Talk. Break it down.
So that next question is, if you ask her how was her day, and you sometimes you just ask him because it's just the question that just came up. It's the question you lead with when you get on the phone or when you see each other. If she says, oh, it was a great day, what does that look like? Ask that next question. What does that look like? Man, my day was, it was awful. Instead of saying, yeah, mine was too. Or instead of saying, yeah, it bees like that sometimes, right? How about asking, what did that look like? When you can do that, you will have access to a part of her heart and her body that that's never been available to you.
So let me jump in, Celeste, and ask, okay, out of 10 women who cheat, what number of them are stepping out because of this issue that you're talking about of emotional unavailability of their partner?
If I had to say, I would say about 8 out of 10.
Okay.
The other two probably were, because even some broken women still don't cheat,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I mean broken to the point where you can't see great and it's slapping you in the face because you don't see yourself as great and you live in the world of I'm not good enough. You can't see how anybody else would show up and actually be authentic and honest and love you for real. So then you're constantly, kind of out there looking and wandering. Yeah, so those are the 2 out of 10. But those 8 out of 10 got into the relationship, I believe, to be honest. And I know women in forever that waited so long in their marriage and they finally stepped out. In fact, they were like, nah, guys coming. It's like, nah, sometimes it's that same guy that's persistent or those same 2 guys that are persistent. And then don't let the guy be able to recognize, wait a minute, your tires are worn. Your husband didn't,
Yeah.
he didn't change your tires?
Mm-hmm.
What is that noise? What is that noise that I hear in your car? I thought you said you were married. Even if he doesn't throw shade on your husband, the fact that he recognizes something that you want desperately for your husband to recognize, that does play on the mind. It's never an excuse for cheating, but it does play on the mind.
Wow, that's like loaded to even begin to describe and unpack. It's not an excuse. What are the alternatives that people face when you're in a situation where you're being emotionally starved, or or the male situation where you're being physically starved out? Because I even know of situations where people were starving on purpose so that they could get the other person to react because they were looking for an out. They wanted somebody else to do something to be the fall guy. And so you would withhold emotionally, you withhold physically, and now they make a decision, and now you have a reason to step out with dignity. And what is somebody to do who is facing someone who's icing them out, whether emotionally or physically? What are some of the things that you would give as tools and strategies to employ in those situations?
I think number one is time to have what we call a fierce conversation. And that fierce conversation is it's not a heated conversation. There are literally, I'm trying to think if I took pictures of it. It's literally a little card and it has, what's the number one thing we need to be talking about? right? That's the first question. And then you discuss what that looks like. You discuss what happens if nothing changes. Like, you go through the things that really sit behind all of the physical
Mm.
intimacy. I mean, let's be honest, sex doesn't start in the bedroom. It never has.
Say that.
Really, for the it doesn't. It just doesn't. And so, is my love bank positive or negative? Have you given enough deposits to make withdrawals? You know what I'm saying? So I think those are the conversations that we need to start with. Again, I don't think you can make a mistake and cheat. And I think the only way to recover from it is full responsibility. And I say full transparency. That doesn't mean every single detail needs to be given. So for some people it's important, for others it's not, but that's a whole other live that we'll talk about. But I just want to encourage the people on here that you don't have to cheat when there are holes in your relationship.
Yeah, I think that the one takeaway that I want to make sure that people leave is I talk to lots of people who have been on both sides of this issue. And I'll say that I've never met one person who could say that it was worth it.
Wow. That's good. Say that again. Say that again.
Met one person who, at the end of the day, looks at everything and says, you know what, it was worth it. Most times,
Never worth it, because there's a word that I know we don't have time to cover, but it's called limerence. It's a word called limerence, and it's in an affair where the person and the affair partner have built supposed intimacy. They think they're in love, but they're in limerence. And so this limerence comes along with a commitment that they eventually kind of create between the two of them. They have this commitment outside of their spouses, right? Which is why people, if they find out there was somebody else outside of the spouse, they feel so devastated. Like, I can't believe you did that to me. It's like, boo boo, all this has been a mess, right? But all of that to say, so that limerence can last for a while, sometimes a year and a half. Some people it's lasted up to 3 years, or even longer, as long as their spouses are in place. But what we found is that when these couples leave their spouses to explore this limerence, thinking that they are in love, it doesn't last long at all. Maybe 3 months, 6 months. It doesn't last at all. In fact, I know about a couple. I wasn't seeing, one of my other therapist friends was seeing, they did that. They decided, we are leaving our spouses. This is the best thing. They moved away to a city to be together. When I tell you, that relationship, when they could really have each other, was so awful that they were begging to get back with their spouses, and the spouses were not even open to it. But I'm just saying, people always regret it. They just do. Because a relationship is, I am on do not disturb. I don't even know how that came through. So, but I'm just saying, for those of you that are contemplating, I've had someone that came to me for natural health, but was contemplating cheating on their spouse, and we were able to talk through it. And to this day, that person, it's been about 15 years, maybe about 13, but I saw that person last year, and they came to me and they said, thank you so much for helping me to turn away from that decision, because they were already far. They were getting ready to make it physical. That thing was deep. So, but people, they always regret it.
Always.
Because it's not real. The affair is not real. People don't understand. It's not real.
There's a difference between affair love and real love. And it's reality versus fantasy. And I give some feedback. I know that we're focused on why people cheat, but I know I was working with a gentleman who was also like barreling towards this
Mm.
action. And like no breaks is going in. It's like, yo, what should I do? Like, how do I said, tell your wife. He said, what? I said, tell your wife. Huh? You got to put a pin in the balloon. Tell her. And so he actually did. He went and he told her, and it did blow up. It but the most important thing that it blew up was the grenade that was getting ready to destroy his his character and
Yes.
his integrity. And there was so much that you don't realize is at stake and it runs the risk of being destroyed when you make this decision to step outside of your committed romantic relationship to get needs met outside of it. And I just want to encourage you, if you find yourself in these situations, a scenario that's similar, first step, turn the light on. Like,
Turn the light on.
turn the light on, because the roaches can scatter. They always scatter when the light's on. And you'll never, ever regret doing the right thing. Never.
That's right.
You will never.
Because
Go ahead.
the danger starts when the secret first begins. Turn the light on as quick as you can. So I love that you said that.
Yeah. Turn the
Absolutely.
light on. I think this discussion we would be. I don't think that we would do the topic justice if we didn't dive into some resources. I know his needs, her needs, is something that you also have said.
Her need is really good. If Only He Knew is another one. It's really old. Shanti Feldham, What Women Want. She also has one on, for the women and the men. Those are really good. Different principles, making marriage work. That Dr. Gottman is great. The 5 love languages is good. Dr. Gary Chapman, he has some good stuff. I think that some of the resources are good, but you sometimes still need
Supplementary.
Sometimes you supplement them. Use wisdom, and sometimes you need a third party.
Often.
Sometimes, because sometimes the lenses that you see life through, relationships, even yourself, can have you create a lot of stories.
Yeah, I would say that we all need third parties. It's not a matter of if, it's when. We all, you go to get help when your car's not working. You go to get help when the electricity is acting funny. You go to get help if you got a plumbing issue. Same principles need to apply for your romantic relationship. It's normal to be in a situation where you're not, let me just say this. When you get in a committed romantic relationship, you don't stop being attracted to other people. Like that.
Say that again. I think that
when you're in a committed romantic relationship, you will never stop being attracted to other people. And especially if you're in proximity to them, like, you're human. There's nothing wrong with the attraction. It's what you do with that attraction that's going to result in you having a path of success or failure in this area of fidelity in your relationship. But
and every time that you choose your mate, meaning you can be at the mall and there's a girl that comes and slips you her phone number, right? Every time you throw it away, you're choosing your mate. Every time you share. So remember, intimacy is just sharing facts plus feelings. That equals intimacy, and it brings people close together. The more you do that with your spouse, the less vulnerable you will be. When you start keeping secrets, you start moving the other way, because you got three choices. Anytime something happens, you can run towards your spouse, away from your spouse, or against. We won't get into all of those, but I'm just saying, so you have choices. Don't be caught out there. Make sure that your connection is being built at home.
That's it. That's big. That's huge.
So you said a takeaway. I know that I didn't. But can you repeat your takeaway, and then I will give one. We don't want to keep you guys all day, but this is something that I personally can talk about for 14 years straight, and this live won't be long enough, because I have a heart for people being not just authentic in a relationship, but it requires you to live a life of authenticity that if you've never lived it, you're missing out on some freedom that I'm telling, living in freedom is so underrated because people think that the secrecy actually gives them life when it's the opposite. And that's why I always say I believe that most of the people in the world are physical and emotional virgins because they really haven't become complete enough to be free. So
That's good.
so now what was your first takeaway that was so good so I can add to it?
I honestly don't know what you took as the takeaway, but I do want to add this one thing.
Okay.
If I had to give a takeaway for both parties here, and it would be to effectively communicate your deepest need.
Yes,
Okay?
yes, yes, yes.
People who step out,
That's good.
stepping out because they don't feel like that need can be met here. And a lot of times they haven't effectively even communicated the need. But I told him, well, as somebody who was in education for 22 decades, over 20 years, I'll tell you, just because you teach something doesn't mean your students learned it. Sometimes you got to learn how to repackage it. Sometimes you got to call in additional resources. And I want to encourage you to effectively communicate your need. Oftentimes it's going to result in you coming to a place where you need a third party to say the same thing because they can't hear it coming from you. It is what it is. But if somebody else says it, it might click a little bit better because the walls that have been erected because you guys are in a little tiff are able to be well, if there's somebody else who doesn't know you, who doesn't have the emotional baggage that everybody has once you've been in a romantic relationship longer than 2 weeks, they'll be able to help you communicate. Just because you're talking does not mean you're communicating. Communication is a two-way street, and in order for you to have a successful relationship, you have to effectively communicate your needs. That's why one of the resources I spent a lot of time creating is my book, Marriage Assessment, which
Yeah. Yeah.
which embeds this concept of the marriage report card. The marriage report card is the vital signs for your romantic relationship. Communicate.
Tell them how to get that. Now they might need you too, but
Maybe, but this is a free resource where you can get the vital signs of your romantic relationship in as little as 5 to 7 minutes. But it's all about communicating what your deepest needs are because most people don't get married to experience this mess, but they don't know how to communicate what it is their deepest needs are and to receive from others to hear that, you know what, I've got a different need and I need to be in tune. If I love you, I'm not going to try to love you in the way that I want to be loved. I have to learn how to love you in the way that you're telling me that you most desire to be loved. If that makes any sense. So communicating the need is
a whole lot of
my
sense.
biggest.
A whole lot. So I'm going to add to that as my takeaway because I know the time is getting away and we try not to do a whole bunch of, we're only going to be on for 30 minutes because we try to give you guys what we feel you need. I think that just to piggyback off of what you're saying, once someone, first of all, have the courage to do exactly what growth coach D just said. Number two, when they say it, don't create the story that it means anything about you. So now you go into defensiveness and you can't really hear it. So then you would do reflective listening. So that's going to be my takeaway. Whether you're the person that's sharing or the person listening, there's a major role in order for this relationship to get on the path of a fair proofing. Okay. And that is, so you say these words. So what you're saying is you feel like you're emotionally starving. You feel like that when you ask me to hold you and I say, girl, ain't nobody got time for that. You know, you're joking, but yeah. So whatever that person shares, just know that it doesn't have to mean anything about you. It is the two of you attacking an issue to a fair proof your relationship. Not just to a fair proof it, because we don't want to just be in a relationship where it's a fair proof, but it's not healthy and fulfilling. We want all of that. So just true fulfillment. So that would be mine. When someone shares, first of all, when people share with me, I give them so much, my heart gives them so much credit because I love being trusted. So the fact that you come to me to say you're not being fulfilled in a certain way, like my heart's gonna give you credit. Y'all, let's give people credit for having the courage to come and tell us that something might not be right, because they're coming because they want it to be right. So that would be mine. And I know we are going to be on this topic, but different aspects of it all month long, because as you guys go into the new year and your relationship's going to a new year, your relationship needs to have a new aspect where your relationship can be affair proof. So if you know anybody that needs the information from this live, please share it. Please share it. Anybody on the brink of cheating, anyone that has cheated, anyone that's been cheated on, anybody that thinks they want to be in a relationship, somebody contemplating getting out of a relationship, please share this live.
Working to recover from cheating, because it is possible. It is possible.
It is.
I know
it is.
Want to hear it, I know, but you show me, tell me what your deal breaker is, and I can show you somebody whose relationship is stronger now because of how they chose to handle it. It is possible. Is there anything too hard for the Lord?
There's nothing too hard for the Lord. But when you have a hardened heart, when you're in a relationship, so number one, I agree with you completely. And also on the other side, when you're with someone, or if you're that person that has a hardened heart, the relationship can't be healed from infidelity. I've helped a lot of couples with infidelity, and the relationship is better after they go through the infidelity. I'm not telling y'all to go cheat than if it was, but then there are some relationships that I know won't work.
Yes.
That can't work because the level of transparency is not there, which means they can't have the level of intimacy they need to really prevent affairs from happening again. So that's going to be that for me. But anything else you want to say before we conclude this live?
No, that was good. You summarized what I didn't get to say, because even while I believe every relationship always has room to grow, I do believe that some relationships, because of the nature of certain brokenness that's unhealed.
Yes, brokenness.
And that's why we're here. Mind Shift today. It's all about recognizing we have power to shift our mind and change aspects of our life. We're coming out of brokenness. We got to talk about and deal with these issues in order to get healed and restored, to walk in the promise of life and life more abundantly. So thank you so much for sharing your expertise. It's always...
Thank you so much for sharing your expertise. I get so much out of these lives, and my prayer is that everyone here and that will watch the replay, that you will feel the love, the genuine love that we have for you. So, and we'll see you guys on the next one next month. And set your notifications. So y'all, you know what I'm saying? We don't mind you showing up at any time. And then the replay is available. But boy, when you come on and talk to us and you share with us, it's a good day. So, but have a wonderful week, everybody.
All right, everybody. Take care.